Shabbat Shalom. Sometimes we look at things and it just simply freaks us out. We look at something that looks different. We look at something that smells different. We look at something that is just simply different from what we see every day, and we don't know how to react. Oftentimes, the human condition is such that our first reaction is to pull back, to look away, to walk away. This week we read two Torah portions, Tazria-Metzora, most of which deals with what happens and how the community dealt with people that had certain skin ailments. The stigma that was placed upon them was nothing short of horrific. Oftentimes these people were eschewed from the community, sent out until their ailment was cured, and then they were allowed back in. It is, to be sure, somewhat of a dark spot on our Torah narrative and on our earliest ancestors. But if we take a closer look, we can see that despite the fact that the original text places a stigma, we can still find a little bit of a prescription of how we should act. The reality is that our ancient ancestors knew nothing or very little of science. They didn't have the medical knowledge that we have today, so oftentimes their response to ailments that they hadn't seen before, that they didn't understand, was to in fact chase people away from the community. But given their limited understanding, we also see that their reaction to bringing people back in was very beautiful. Oftentimes when somebody was afflicted with one of these skin ailments, once it was cured, they would be brought back into the community and ceremoniously feted and associated with the holy. In addition, as we move on from the Torah, we see that rabbinic interpretation places much less of a stigma on these skin ailments and begins to understand that these people that were afflicted needed not to be sent away from the community, but brought in. Look, the reality is sometimes when we see the different, our first reaction is to look away, or to not want to go near, to not want to bring people closer. But our Jewish tradition, despite this week's Torah portions, demands of us that we draw people in these instances, that we look at the different, we understand that everything is created in the image of God, and our responsibility as human beings, as Jews, is to draw people closer. Shabbat Shalom.